The whole point of the campaign was to trick the world into thinking this new film was coming out. It gave us an hour to get that page ranking at the top of the search results.
1 hour.
It just was a natural fit, really, for SEO to actually play a role in it.
If you've been keeping up with SEO updates, then you probably know that keyword research must align with search intent or it just doesn't work. Now, here's where it gets tricky. Identifying funnel-based intent might look simple, but quickly becomes complicated as search intent evolves. How do you know when search intent changes? What if a commercial keyword is actually an informational keyword? Rather than playing guesswork, our new Keyword Explorer powered by AI simplifies your research with high-value keywords optimized for search intents. Whether your goal is to generate revenue with commercial keywords or educate your audience with informational content, Moz AI helps you maximize every dollar out of your SEO budget to achieve your marketing goals. Hi, and welcome to another episode of MozPod. My guest today is Catherine Lux. Catherine Lux is a content marketer with over a decade of experience working on global businesses, in agencies and brand sides in both London and Sydney. She also spent 3 years leading content at Google before becoming head of content at another global tech company. Today, we're talking about how Chima Mmeje helped Tourism Australia fool the world with their $36 million Superbowl ad. Catherine, welcome to MozPod.
Thanks for having me.
I'm just going to head in there. Where did the initial idea of creating a fake Crocodile Dundee movie trailer come from? Like, walk us through that process, that whole brainstorming process of this unconventional approach.
Yeah, so it was when I was working at Reprise Digital in Sydney. Tourism Australia was our client. And they basically had this issue where American tourists weren't really visiting Australia because they incorrectly thought that they needed a whole month to visit Australia. And obviously a lot of Americans only get 10 days of holiday a year. So people just weren't really visiting Australia. The numbers had been going down year on year. So Tourism Australia were kind of faced with this task to increase American tourists. And American tourists are also the highest spending tourists. So they basically got together with our sister agency, and their creative agency, Droga5, and they all got in a room and had this huge brainstorm and came up with this incredible idea to basically fool the world into thinking that a new Crocodile Dundee film was coming out. And very fortunately, we were asked to be part of it as the SEO team. And obviously, usually SEO teams are brought in at the very end. So it's usually too late to really do much by then. But thankfully, we were brought in very kind of close to the start of it all. So we had about 6 months to plan everything, get it all in place, and really be part of the process, which was amazing.
That is so distinct because, like you said, in most projects, you don't even think of SEO when you're talking about creative content tasks or anything like that. So do you think like that was part of the key reasons why the project was successful? The fact that they brought in SEO from the planning stages to be in the room, to have like input on what can we do from an SEO standpoint to make this creative project a success?
100%. It was, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I think it was instrumental in the success of that campaign purely because there were so many kind of things along the way that could have derailed the success of it. And it was the strategies that we came up with within SEO that sort of saved those things derailing. And also, you know, because we had such a close relationship with both the client and our sister agency, it was just a really strong working group. We were very lucky that the client had a lot of trust in us. We'd built up a really close relationship with them. I was working very closely with the team at anyway. So when we were brought into it, it just was a natural fit really for SEO to actually play a role in it and help with the success of the campaign.
So can you describe the challenge of managing SEO for a campaign meant to deceive, in a good way, meant to deceive the public into thinking a new movie was being released?
The biggest challenge was that the whole point of the campaign was to trick the world into thinking this new film was coming out. And then during the Super Bowl, there was going to be this big switch. So it would switch from being a movie trailer to a tourism advert. And obviously, because of that, we had to kind of make sure that Tourism Australia had absolutely no involvement with the film. So there was a lot with the planning process. Fortunately, we had quite a few agencies working on it. So things like the Google Ads account was obviously run through the agency. We had the microsite, which was dundeemovie.com. And that was the movie website that we used for it, so that kind of nothing was on the Tourism Australia website. However, we obviously needed to drive traffic to the Tourism Australia website as soon as the Super Bowl advert went live. So the biggest challenge was having to figure out how we got a brand new landing page on Tourism Australia ranking as soon as that advert went live, and not have it discovered beforehand, if that makes sense. So like,
I understand. Basically, like keep it in like put it on the download.
Yeah.
Make sure that the website that is public facing right now, the fake movie website, is ranking.
Exactly.
And then after the Super Bowl ad, get the one with the landing page to Tourism Australia.
Yeah.
Picking up all that traffic.
Yeah. And it had to pick it up immediately.
So how did you move that from this fake website to the Tourism Australia landing page? What did you guys do to make sure that you're taking that traffic?
Yeah, so basically we planned to launch the landing page on the Tourism Australia website an hour before the Super Bowl ad went live. So it gave us an hour to get that page ranking at the top of the search results.
1 hour.
1 hour, yeah.
That's insane.
It was crazy, absolutely crazy. Like, I was in the war room with the senior leadership of Tourism Australia, with Adobe, with the key people. Thankfully, we had a whole load of backlinks to the microsite. We created this landing page on the Tourism Australia website. We set it live an hour beforehand. We then did a 301 redirect from the microsite to that landing page. I then added a link to that landing page in the footer of the Tourism Australia website and the top 5 performing pages on the site as well. We didn't want it in the nav bar, in the top nav bar, because we were worried that if anybody went onto the website and saw it, they would see it before the advert was released. So we kind of had to be sneaky and do some kind of like grey hat techniques with the footer link. And then thankfully it worked, started ranking. I obviously submitted it to Search Console and asked Google to crawl it and index it. And it worked. And we had a 900% organic uplift in bookings and booking inquiries to the website.
Wow.
So it worked. It was great, but it was stressful.
I can't even imagine 1 hour to get a website ranking.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go back to the website, the fake movie websites, because I find that very interesting. You successfully implemented movie schema markup to make the website rank high in SERPs for relevant searches. What kind of relevant searches, and how did you even get that website ranking? A fake website, nonetheless.
Fake
you fooled
website
Google to get it ranking.
Yeah, we fooled Google. We also got the knowledge graph, the knowledge panel. It was amazing. Like, basically, when we started planning it, obviously we had about 6 months in advance to plan it out. But it was quite close to the launch date that we found out the whole website would be built on JavaScript, and we couldn't change that. So then we had to kind of pivot a little bit and think, okay, how are we going to get this microsite to rank? It's a brand new website. It's only going to be live for 2 to 3 weeks. And it's all built on JavaScript. So I went into panic mode and I literally called my boss, my 2 managers. I was like, guys, we need a meeting right now. So we went into one of the meeting rooms and we just brainstormed, how can we do this? We might have to be a bit black hat about it. And then I just thought, why don't we try movie schema? We also had been talking to our sister agency, about creating the IMDb page. And so then we thought, okay, if we can get that, if we can also get the movie schema implemented, maybe we can then get it ranking, but also have a knowledge panel, which obviously then makes it look even more legit as a movie. So that's what we did. So I wrote the movie schema myself. We submitted it to the creative agency. They uploaded it along with obviously meta title and description, the standard things. And then, within a few days, we had that knowledge panel and it was listing the cast. We also had the IMDb page. The creative agency also managed to update the Dundee Wikipedia page as well. And even today, that knowledge panel is still there. Okay. So if you Google Dundee movie, it still shows up.
I'll get to that IMDb in a bit, but two things. I just want to put as a sidebar that I love the fact that SEO can contribute in massive ways to creative work, because we don't really see examples of that, because SEO always seems too technical, this thing that exists behind the screen. So it's just amazing to see it be like parts of a very creative process and have these incredible results.
Yeah.
So did you encounter any obstacles with search engines or schema validation tools, given the fictional nature of the movie?
Thankfully not. However, we did obviously have a lot of comments online that was kind of talking about whether it was real or not. And it was that microsite and the IMDb page that convinced people that it was real. There were definitely still people that were commenting on Reddit and saying, I don't think it's real. Why are they using this random American actor? But for the most part, it definitely worked. And I would say there were so many people who were so excited for that film to come out. And the disappointment when they figured out that it was an advert, there was like an actual petition. There was an online petition to make the film. I did sign it. I also wanted the film made. I was so desperate for that film to come out, but sadly they still haven't done it.
Did you have to collaborate with IMDb to create the page?
Yeah.
What was that process like?
I mean, luckily I didn't have to do the negotiating, but and Droga 5, they worked really closely with IMDb to kind of convince them to do it. But it did require negotiating. It wasn't a simple case of just creating a page. They did have to get special permission from them.
I figured as much.
Yeah.
I read some comments on YouTube when I went to watch the fake promo. Obviously, I already knew that it wasn't real, but I was just reading the comments and I was laughing. I was having like a really good laugh.
Yeah.
So how did audiences react to finding the movie on IMDb, and what impact did it have on the campaign success, good or bad? Because you already told me that people were signing petitions. How did that impact the movies? Why do I keep calling it a movie? The trailer.
See, even you're convinced.
Exactly. Even I'm convinced. The campaign. Yeah. How did it lead? How did it impact the campaign success?
Yeah. It was really funny actually, because there were there were 3 videos leading up to the ad spot in the Super Bowl that were released. I think it was 3 weeks ahead of the Super Bowl. And so there were 2 teaser trailers and then a full length trailer. And when the first trailer came out, we were so excited. All of us were in the office sitting there waiting for it to launch and waiting for all the comments and the press and everything. And when we did see the comments, so many people were commenting like, how is this real? This can't be real. It's been so long since the original. And like, oh, what a weird cast. Because they used Danny McBride as the kind of long lost son. And so a lot of the kind of questions around whether it was real was based on the choice of actor. But then a lot of people were then obviously Googling it, finding the microsite, finding the IMDb page, and then were commenting back and saying, well, there's an IMDb page. It must be real. There's a website. There's a website. It must be real. And then at the end of the trailers, they had the Ringfire Films production company logo, which Paul Hogan had given them permission to use. And then that again kind of, people were saying, well, it's the original production company that made the original Crocodile Dundee films. It must be real. And there were all these little things that kind of made people think, well, it has to be real if all these things have happened. But the whole time, there were definitely still people who were doubting it. And obviously they were right. But it was so disappointing reading those comments because we were like, oh my gosh, why are they not believing this? And like, because of the timing as well, because it was only less than a month till the Super Bowl, there were some people who were saying this must be something to do with the Super Bowl. But thankfully, from memory, I don't think anyone actually sussed that it was Tourism Australia. So that's okay. We did our job.
So what were the key metrics of success for this campaign?
Yeah, so the main things were the booking inquiries. So on the Tourism Australia website, they basically have a section on there where you can kind of click through to external booking providers, tour operators, and start booking your trip. So the majority of goals were around that, especially for the SEO side of things. And then backlinks wise as well. Obviously, that was part of trying to get the site to rank so quickly and the page to rank so quickly. So from memory, I think we got over 2,000 backlinks in 3 weeks. But there were something crazy like 16,000 pieces of coverage around the world on the campaign. And it was the most searched for campaign that year for that Superbowl. So the numbers were crazy. And obviously it cost $36 million. And I think the creative agency reported at the time that they had received, it was something like nearly $90 million worth of organic media coverage. So that like what would have been the equivalent media spend for that level of coverage would have been like $90 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a massive success. That is a massive success.
Yeah. It was Tourism Australia's most successful ever marketing campaign.
Hey friend, if you stuck around this far, I'll take it you're enjoying the podcast. Please hit the like button to show your support, subscribe to stay in the loop, and click the bell button to get notified when we release a new episode. Thank you. So looking back, what were the key takeaways from working on such a high-profile campaign?
You definitely need the time to plan it out. And if I ever did one again, I think I would focus more on the potential things that could go wrong or come up, because there were a few times when we were suddenly in a meeting room trying to kind of figure out what to do, especially with the JavaScript issue. And then when people were starting to think that it was fake, we were like, is there anything we can do to help? And then that's when the creative agency stepped in and updated the Wikipedia page. They did a couple of other things. I can't remember what they were now. But yeah, there were just quite a few times when I wish that we had kind of tried to pre-plan for what could go wrong.
You had 6 months.
I know.
What pre-planning are you doing?
Yeah, I know. But also it's one of those things where sometimes you just can't pre-plan, especially when you've never done it before.
You keep saying pre-plan. And I keep saying you have 6 months. Again, what pre-planning are you doing? The whole point of having 6 months is that you're pre-planning. How many months do you need to plan a campaign, Catherine?
Yeah. I know, especially with SEO when we're used to doing things like quickly. It's like, oh, we're migrating our website next week. Can you help?
So that's the main takeaway for you. Planning, time for planning to get the best results out of that campaign.
Definitely. Yeah.
Having
and
6
also
months really helped.
That 6 months was huge. Yeah. It helped us a lot. It was also very difficult though, because there was an NDA in place, and obviously they didn't want it to get out that it was fake. Very few people knew what was going on and what was happening. So not everybody knew about the campaign, even within the agencies. So for example, the exec that I was working with at the time, he didn't know about it. He couldn't know about it. So whenever I asked him to do work for it, I had to be very subtle and sneaky about what I was asking him to do. And like I had to manually go in and update his timesheets for him so that he didn't know what client it was going against.
All right. I'm going back to the fact that the website was built on JavaScript, and you said there were some issues around that. First question, why was it built on JavaScript? 2, did it have any impact on the campaign? And 3, what were the challenges?
Yeah, I think with the JavaScript, it was just that classic case of a creative agency building the website. So they wanted it to look all shiny and nice. And because it was a temporary website as well, I think they just thought it would be easier to build it on JavaScript, but we just weren't told until maybe a week or 2 before it went live. I think they sent over the wireframes and I asked for some copy changes, or asked if we could add like an extra page or 2, because it was literally 1 page. The website was just 1 page. So I was like, how are we supposed to get a website ranking when there's only 1 page on the website? And then so when I asked for us to create some extra pages, that's when they said, no, it's a JavaScript site. This is the only page. We can't build any other pages. And that's when we went into panic mode and had to figure out how we were going to get this one-page JavaScript site to rank so fast, because it was the site only went live, I think maybe a few days before the campaign launched. So we literally had a few days to get the microsite.
What would you have done differently?
Ranking. Differently, I think I would have insisted on us working closer with the creative agency, because the client was kind of the middleman, and then our sister agency, were also kind of a middleman. As an SEO team, we did not have direct contact with Droga 5. And I think it would have been really helpful to have that direct contact. So I think in future, if I was working on a campaign like this again at such a big scale, I would insist on at least having an initial meeting with them and discussing
before you building the website.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was just a case that obviously they were a creative agency. They don't have SEO experience or specialists. So they weren't to know that it was going to impact the rankings and potentially the kind of attempt to fool the world. But thankfully, Schema came through for us and just helped massively. And literally all we could really do was meta title, description and schema. So because we couldn't change any content on the site or add any other pages or anything to help it rank. Okay. I think the backlinks helped as well. Getting that many backlinks in such a short amount of time as well was really helpful.
I'm going to ask you a hot take SEO question.
Okay.
What is the thing that frustrates you the most about SEO or the industry?
Oh gosh, so many things.
Itemize, Catherine. Itemize.
Oh my goodness. I think SEO is so underestimated. Everybody underestimates it. It's always an afterthought. We were really fortunate that with this campaign, we had a really strong relationship with the client. So they brought us in very early, but generally that doesn't happen. The amount of times I've been brought into a project literally a week before a migration, or a migration has already happened and they're then like, can you fix all these problems for us? I do think we're brought in so late onto things. And in general, everybody just underestimates the impact SEO can have. Everybody wants quick wins. They're not willing to kind of really invest in SEO and wait for the long-term results. And I think this campaign, it's a prime example of where SEO can be really helpful, because without SEO, I don't think they would have got that 900% uplift in organic booking inquiries, because there's a likelihood that visitors who were searching Google for our set of keywords wouldn't have found that landing page because it was published an hour before the Superbowl ad actually aired.
What is one thing you do every day that brings you a tiny pocket of joy?
Oh, cuddles with my dog.
Oh, so cute.
He's always so happy. Like, you can be having the worst day and he's just ridiculously happy to see you, and his tail is wagging. He's a mini wirehead dachshund, so he looks like an old man. And he's so joyful. He brings me a lot of joy.
That is so sweet. That's it for today on MozPod. Thank you to our guest, Catherine Lux, for that really insightful episode. This episode was engineered by Saul Fox, produced by Chima Mmeje and Joe Cameron, and our YouTube footage was filmed and edited by Sarah Galpin. And remember, curiosity did not kill the cat. It just improved the search rankings. Bye-bye.